Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Michelle's Garden. I'm Michelle. We're going to do a video on water bath canning green beans today. Water bath canning. It's not recommended that you water bath can green beans in the United States only. People do this all over the world. The Amish people in the United States water bath can their green beans, and this is the way that I can my green beans. But I have to tell you that because there's always going to be somebody who's going to let you know not to can green beans this way. They'll say that you're only supposed to pressure can low acidic foods. I water bath can my green beans, my carrots, my potatoes, meats, and I'm going to show you how I do that today. So we're going to go in the kitchen and I'm going to show you everything that you need, and then I have to get to snapping these green beans. Okay, so I've laid out everything here that you're going to need to get started. The first thing you're going to need is a water bath canner. I've got a pot of water here that I'll have hot water in to put in the jars when I put the green beans in the jars. I've got a pot back here that I will put my lids in. These are my lids right here, I use regular mouth, and these are the rings that go with them. This here will get your hot jars out of the canner. This is a magnetic thing here to take your lids and stuff out of the hot water. This is a debubbler. When you put your green beans and your water in here, you're going to go around the jar to get the bubbles out. Got my funnels here. We got your canning and pickling salt, and we got white distilled vinegar, a paper towel because you're going to wipe the top of your jar off to make it good and sterile. And then you'll need quart jars. My canner holds 6 quart jars. This is not a ball jar. I just found this in the cabinet to show you because my jars are in the dishwasher right now to sterilize them. You can sterilize your jars in the sink in hot soapy water. Wash them really, really good. Rinse them off. You can air dry them, or you can let them sit and some of the water roll off of them, and then you can put them on like a cookie sheet and put them in the oven on warm, and that will evaporate the rest of the water off of them and keep them in there till you get ready to put your green beans in them. Now I think there's 2 ways you can do this. You can cold pack or hot pack. Let me go in here where I'm going to be snapping green beans. Cold pack is just everything's room temperature, and you pack it all in the jars with the water, and you sit the jars down in the canner, then you turn it on and you bring it to a rolling boil. I'm going to do mine hot pack, where the jars will be hot, the lids will be hot, the water will be hot. The green beans will just be room temperature as I put them into the jars. Everything else will be hot, and my canner will be up to a boil. It won't be a rolling boil, but it'll be coming up to a boil when I drop the jars down in there, and I'll show you that as I get to that point. But right now, I'm going to be snapping these beans. Let me show you my beans. I'm in the living room. Normally, I would think snapping green beans would be something you do out on the front porch. That seems like a old-timey way of snapping beans. I got these, came in Friday. I think this is like a half peck basket. It took me 3 months to get these, and they came in Friday. Right when I went out to to pick beans. I ain't snapped them yet. So I got 2 of those. And I got a bucket here. These are Blue Lake green beans. It's a bush bean, and it has put off a ton of beans. The bush beans, I normally grow a pole bean, but this year I did the bush beans. And this is a royal burgundy bean. It's a really deep, dark purple. This is the first time I've grown this, but when you cook these up, they turn green just like those. Might be like a different shade of green, but they all come out green. So you have your green beans. Make sure you have a bucket to throw your tops in when you snap them off. And then I have a pot here to throw my green beans in. So I'm going to get started on snapping these beans, and then we'll go in the kitchen and I'll show you the next step from there. Okay, I've got all my green beans snapped. That took a little while. My mom helped me snap. I'm going to show you what I got here. I did mix my Royal Burgundy green beans with my Blue Lake. And then there's just a pot of the Blue Lake. I'm going to cook them together. They're all going to cook green, so it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to put these in the jars. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pack these jars with the green beans. I took this out of my dishwasher. It's nice and warm. You can put them in your oven and you can keep them warm if you want to do a hot pack the way I'm doing this. I'm going to pack our green beans in here. I'm going to use the funnel. I've already packed one jar. Got it sitting in the canner. The canner's getting up to a boil. It's not quite there yet. As you put them in there, push them down, pack them in there. Set this over here. Get a couple more in there. I was taught to can green beans probably 20 years ago. That was one of the first things that I learned to Waterbath can. Okay, I feel like those are good and tight in there. So now I'm going to put this funnel back on here. I'm going to put a teaspoon of canning salt. You can use pink Himalayan salt. I'm going to use canning salt. 1 teaspoon. And then a tablespoon of white distilled vinegar to a quart. And then I'm going to ladle my hot water in here. I'm going to go just below the rim. I'll show you how I got this here. You can see the water is like right there. Okay, now you want to debubble. Go all around the outside and debubble. When you do the hot pack, the jars are hot, the lids are hot. You can blanch your green beans in some boiling water about 3 to 5 minutes. If you'd like to do that, you don't have to. Push those back down in there. Okay, now you take some white distilled vinegar and wipe around your lids, your top, I mean, before you put the lid on. Now, these, I don't have them in boiling water. They're just sitting in some hot water. And my rings, I don't put those in the water. Inspect your rings. We're just going to make this just finger tight there. Inspect your rings, because I'm using rings that I've already used before. You can buy, in the pack, you can get your lids, and you can also buy these together. I've just got the tops, and my rings are out of my drawer. You inspect them, make sure they don't have any rust on them, and then sit that in the canner. Okay, we're going to do one more together. Okay, so we're going to pack our green beans and put this in here. It's so nice to have your own green beans canned. They taste really good. I mostly grow Blue Lake. Once a while Kentucky Wonders. This year I grew some Royal Burgundy and some Cherokee Trail of Tears. Press those down in there. Hopefully I'm talking loud enough for you guys. Press those down in there. See if I can get a couple more in there. Even if I have to break them up a little bit more. Okay. Teaspoon of salt. Tablespoon of vinegar. Okay, let's get our water. Just below the rim. Okay, it's time to debubble. Down in there a little bit. Okay. A little bit of vinegar. Wipe the lid. Lid, I keep saying lid, the top of your jar. Get your lid out of the water. Always try not to touch the bottom. Put your lid on. Snug it tight. Okay, so I've got like 3 more jars to do. I want to tell you that you can, if you want to, you don't have to, you can dice up some potatoes and put in here. If I do that, I still put the vinegar in there and I process them for 2 hours. You can leave the vinegar out. If you leave the vinegar out, your process time is 3 hours. So I'm going to finish these up and I'm going to show you right before I drop them down in the canner. Okay, I'm getting ready to drop these down in the canner. See, my water's going to be way up there. Ooh, that was a little bit hot. Got my finger. Be careful dropping it down in there. You can see my water is going to be about an inch, maybe 1.5 inches over the jars. I put my lid on there. Sit your lid on there. I always keep this on top of here. Okay, so that is going to come up to a rolling boil. Once it comes up to a rolling boil, that's when your timing starts. And because it has the vinegar in it, your timing is 2 hours. If you leave the vinegar out, again, your timing will be 3 hours. And as far as tasting the vinegar, there's not enough in there to pickle your green beans and give it a pickled taste or anything like that. If you're worried about when you're processing for 2 hours of your water level dropping, keep a pot of hot water on the stove. Turn it up and get it to a boil. When you go to check your water, if you feel like your water is dropped, just put some of that boiling water in there, put your lid back on there. But keep your lid on there the whole time except for when you check it or if you need to add water. I usually don't have to add water. I know there's people who do. I haven't had to. So in about 2 hours we'll come back. I'll take these jars out and show you what we have. Okay, so after 2 hours of processing, you turn the stove off and you let your canner sit for 5 minutes, and then you lift your green beans up out of the water. I want to show you that I didn't add any water to this canner the whole time it was processing. You can see the water is still over top of my jars. Some water boiled out, but not a whole lot. So I'm going to get something to lift these up out of the canner. Be careful because everything is hot. Okay, and then we're going to take these and sit them on this towel. Some of this stuff out of the way. Show you one of these up close. You can see it's still boiling a little bit. Looks just fine. Looks like cooked green beans. So that is 6 quarts. And I probably have about 6 more to do. Get a better grip on that. Okay, let me turn this around so you can see these. And there you go. There is 6 quarts of green beans. Now I will take these downstairs and let them sit on a counter downstairs for 24 hours. And then when I come home from work tomorrow, I will label them, you know, put the date on them when I processed them, and I'll put them downstairs on the shelf. I hope that this video helped you as far as water bath canning. Just remember that water bath canning is not recommended in the United States, but that's how I can my food. I've been canning it like that for 20 years. My family's fine. We didn't die. I know people, you know, we shouldn't poke fun at that, but that's how I can mine in my kitchen. And I just wanted to share that with you. I hope everybody has a great evening. Thank you for joining me today. We're finally getting the rain that we've been expecting all day long. So wherever you are, I hope you're safe from any storms. And thanks for hanging out with me. See you again from Michelle's Garden.